Everything under 10 million US dollar Bitcoin price is a bear market. That's what my good friend Jerry Loves Freedom said, and I absolutely agree with him. So we are extremely early, and actually right now something very interesting is happening. Michael Saylor spoke 2 years ago about a major gold rush coming in the next 10 years. We think this gold rush just started 2026. So in my humble opinion, load the effing boat and enjoy. How has Bitcoin treating you? What's kind of going on with Bitcoin and you?
Bitcoin has been treating me good. I love Bitcoin, man. As the name says, Jerry loves freedom, and I talk about a lot of different things on my channel and stuff like that. But Bitcoin is obviously the centerpiece of it, and it just gives me a peace of mind that no matter what I do, no matter how down the world is, because again, I deep dive into politics and world news and everything based on Bitcoin, of course. But no matter what, the doom and gloom or whatever's going on, when there is a problem, I look for the solution. A lot of time, the solution is Bitcoin. It just is for me. And when I see that and I look at it short term, mid term, long term situations, I just look and say, man, wow, not only do I have a peer to peer money that I can send anytime I want to anyone, but I also have a money that I'm not, again, we're not talking about getting rich. We're just talking about having a money that keeps me safe and secure from inflation. And when I think about that, all the outside noise, I'm just like, I got the ultimate I guess Iron Man suit I put on every single day, which is Bitcoin, and I just love it and it treats me very, very well. And I'm very happy that I found it in this 12th year of its creation. I got involved in 2021. I'm class of 2021, so I'm just very happy with Bitcoin, and I'm so glad that I'm just fortunate to be part of this ecosystem that's going to change the world.
I love the Iron Man comparison because in Iron Man he has this energy thing that has to power itself and has unlimited like energy and power to keep the magnet running, to not like have his heart cut through from the bullets that he has in there.
Oh,
And it's kind of like having Bitcoin in your life is kind of like the having such a powerful energy thing in your heart that keeps the whole thing running. And without it, you kind of lose the momentum. You lose the thing. I never thought about that, but it's actually an interesting comparison. Like the Tony Stark energy stone. I don't know how it's called really, but how the Iron Man thing compared with Bitcoin as an energy source for your life.
yeah. And when you think about Tony Stark, he's kind of like he's like the Bruce Wayne of the MCU, or the what is it, the MCU? MCU. It's MCU and is the Avengers the MCU? Yeah. And he's just a very, very smart guy. And because he's so smart, he was able to build that suit, if you will, and he could keep up with all the other superheroes, right? And with that suit, with the core in the middle of it, like you said, he can put that on and hang with the Incredible Hulk and all these other people. So it makes me feel like when I go out and I see rich people out there or people with a lot of influence and all this other stuff, I know I'm not up there with them yet, but I think of myself like, well, I'm going to be a future very, very powerful individual. Not saying that I need power or want power or anything like that, but uh, power and influence are a big deal in our world. And with your voice and with Bitcoin backing you, just like Tony Stark, you can just be like Iron Man and keep up with the big boys.
One thing that uh, also kind of gets in there, it's the whole company thing, and I think this is one thing that a lot of people are currently wondering about: the whole strategy, Meta Planet, treasury company space, them having so many Bitcoin, them having a lot of runway. How do you think about this whole space? Because I don't remember us talking about treasury companies at all. Maybe we did in the first three episodes. Maybe I missed it, or maybe I don't remember it. But that's something I'm curious about how you think about that.
I'm not one of those people that don't love it. because some people hate it, some people don't care about it. All they care about is Bitcoin and cold storage. I like the whole ecosystem of the world, right? I'm a person that I'm a macroeconomics, geopolitical type of person. I do love my country. I do love the United States of America. And again, I do love freedom. So when I look at the base layer of my life personally, it's God, family, country, Bitcoin in that order, right? So when I look at these treasury companies, I'm thinking, okay, how can this help me? How can this help me help others? Because my job right now as an early Bitcoiner is to get adoption as quickly as we can. That's what we want. So in order to get that, other people have to adopt it. And the treasury companies, for me personally, um, it's a I don't want to say a necessary evil. I don't want to say they're evil or anything like that, but because again, anything outside Bitcoin and cold storage, that is, anything outside of people like us having Bitcoin and cold storage, some people think it's evil. They're like, oh man, the plebs are getting it taken away. But I've been warning people since 2023 before the the Bitcoin gold rush, as Michael Saylor likes to call it, in 2024 started when iBit and all these companies, the ETF started grabbing them. We knew this was coming. We knew that the big boys were coming, and now that they're doing it, especially with Michael Saylor and strategy and their product stretch, getting 815,000 Bitcoin with one company, and they're just sucking up so much Bitcoin. It's almost scary when you see that, when you see the number of Bitcoin or Satoshis that they're doing. And I did the math on it because I like to talk about Satoshis, obviously. I think it was over 8 trillion Satoshis they have out of the 2.1 quadrillion or something like that. I think it's 8 trillion, and that's a lot. That's a lot of Satoshis that people like us can't have, but it's necessary because we want adoption. And what Michael Saylor is doing with this product is simple. He is changing the world. I call him He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. And he is a guy that he's going to make Warren Buffett and Elon Musk look like very poor men in the future. Okay? He just is. And when you just look at the basis, because I'm not no high level, top level guy. I'm just a regular person that loves Bitcoin and makes videos. If you look at economics, and this is a good book right here. Speaking of that, Principles of Economics by our boy, Safety. When you look at economics, what is the base layer of economics? It's supply and demand. That's what it is. It's just the basics. And when you look at what strategy is doing with this product with Stretch, they are affecting the supply and demand like no other, right? So supply is simple. We only have 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis or 21 million Bitcoin. They're buying those. So they're taking that supply off of the market so no one else can buy those. So they're affecting the supply, but they're affecting the demand as well because as supply goes down, the demand goes up. Now, I might not do that in the short term, but over months, years, and decades, people are not going to realize that the demand is going to be so much higher based on what they took off the market with the diminishing of the supply. So I think about it quite often. I personally don't have Stretch. It's not a product for myself, but it is a product for just a regular average person that wants to keep up with inflation. Because as we know, uh, Bitcoin's CAGR is a lot higher than 11.5%, the variable rate they're given right now. So when people want a return on just their savings account, not an investment, just a savings account, right? And again, I know it's not a perfect savings account because it's not a bank and it's not FDIC insured, but if you're giving somebody 11.5%, that's pretty good on top of the 7% inflation that the invisible tax we call it that they're paying. So they're really getting about 4.5%. But the main thing is they're not getting their purchasing power stolen, and it's a good product. And so if they keep getting these returns um, on a bi-monthly basis now, I guess annualized 11.5%. After a while, they're going to look at this and go, "What the heck is this?" Because a lot of people are getting in it and don't even know what it is. And then when they get into it, they're like, wait a minute, this is based on that Bitcoin thing that the news said it was a scam and it was a crypto and it was a corrupt thing. And then when they look at it, well, how can it be such a scam and a corrupt thing if it's giving me 11.5% and this guy's buying it all? So when strategy is doing this, Michael Saylor is doing it. Not only is he helping the regular individual, because again, we all want people to be, have Bitcoin in cold storage and use the Lightning Network for payments, but that's not going to happen overnight. We have to do layers of that. There's layers to it, and there's levels to it. And I think what Michael Saylor is doing is he's introducing the regular folks, or the normies we like to call them, and not a diss on them. I was a normie for a long time, to a product that not only will save them from inflation over the long and short term, but it'll also on the back end introduce them to the greatest product in the world, or the greatest money in the world, and that's Bitcoin.
You said you don't have the STSC, but do you have common shares?
I have MSTR in
Yeah, also
in a retirement portfolio, but I can cash it out when I'm 59 and a half.
59 and a half. That's like 30 years away, right?
Yeah, 30 years, yeah.
Maybe even 35.
I'm the comedian, though. I think you're the comedian, sir.
I love that. I think, honestly, like, I'm thinking more and more about actually a stretch also in my portfolio. I still haven't pulled the trigger. The reason is I'm more and more a fan of a fiat buffer. And so I'm building now a cash buffer out. And now the question for me is, how much cash buffer do I want? Like, how much leg room in fiat cash do you want? Do you want a week? Do you want a month? Do you want a year? Do you want a half a year? Like, it's not an easy question. And then, like, how much of that leg room maybe you can kind of chop up and not only put it into fiat cash, but distribute it maybe a little bit into stretch. James Jack, he has his cash in gold. So there are like different strategies that you can, like, you can be 80% into Bitcoin and then have cash sitting around with mix of stretch, actual cash. And I mean, with actual cash, I mean like money in a bank account. I don't know if you want to have actual cash at home, and then gold and all those kind of equivalents. So it's an interesting product that gives Bitcoin another option to have more financial instruments that have 11.5% instead of 0.
Yes. And again, it's really 4.5%, because I always tell people just look at the inflation with the 7%, and that's still good. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's interesting. I think about that often. I say, how much, what percentage do I want? Because I do keep a little bit of cash, and I say, do I want to keep this in stretch? And I've been thinking about that. I also thought about that with the precious metal things. For those of you that don't know, I used to be in the precious metals. The problem with precious metals, and I'm not, taking a dump on precious metals, but you buy it at a loss and you sell it at a loss. And that's the problem, right? Because there's a thing called premiums that you have to pay. So let's just say an ounce of gold is, I don't know, what is it, 4,700 right now? They're going to charge you a fee on that. So let's just say you pay an extra 100 or 150 on top of that, or $200 on top of that. But then when you try to go and sell it, they're not going to give you not even the spot price for it. They're going to charge you less. You're going to get less than the spot price. So you're going to pay up front. So you have to make sure that the money that you buy, you have to buy it on the discount to compensate for the fee that you're paying up front, and then the money you're losing on the back end. But with cash, it's a necessary evil, because we're still in that system, unfortunately. And when you want to go to a grocery store like a Whole Foods, I call it whole paychecks because it's very expensive. They don't take sats yet, and I went there last night, spent my whole paycheck there, and I'm like, man, it would be nice if they took sats, you know, and this is why you have to have cash. But, the best thing to me, for me, I think, is to just have a really strict budget, figure out what your income is, then your expenses minus that. And I use Bitcoin or Satoshis, my buys, as an expense. It's just an automatic expense. I spend a certain amount, but I do like to keep a little bit of cash for emergencies. I do have credit cards to make up for that. But the main thing I want cash for is I really thought about it. I wrote down like, what do I need this cash for? What do I need it for? I think the main thing outside of what my credit cards can't buy, I guess, because your credit cards can pretty much buy everything, is more sats when the price goes down. So, I keep them as enough of that as I can if there's a quote unquote dip, because dips are relative, and then I go from there. But definitely, cash and sats for me personally is the way to go.
Yeah, that was Stephen Perrinard on my podcast, probably like a couple of months ago. And he showed me the math, how it's actually more profitable to keep cash laying around. So you can, so like his strategy was keeping Bitcoin and cash always at the same percentage. And so you're forced, because cash it gets debased, but it has the same number always. So if Bitcoin drops in price, measured in that cash, so Bitcoin drops from like 100K to 75K, you have to use that cash to buy back to keep Bitcoin at 75%. Now he even used that technique of like if it grows a lot, he sells some to get the cash percentage back up, and he actually ended up like with his math model with more Bitcoin. I'm not a super fan of that because I don't like to sell my Bitcoin. But one thing that which I think is really cool, if you have always cash around and Bitcoin drops significantly, and so your cash percentage goes above a certain level, then you can actually use it and buy more Bitcoin with that. On the other side, there's like if Bitcoin shoots up and I'm selling to have more cash, I'm not a fan of that because you also have to think about capital gains tax and exchange fees and all of those things. Like buying and selling comes with more. Uh, just holding on is usually the best way. But it's an interesting thought experiment. If you have cash laying around, that you might actually end up with more Bitcoin than if you're just like 100% in it, which I was till like a couple of months ago.
Oh, you changed it? You went down?
Yeah, yeah. I did not sell any. I just stopped. So like in December, I stopped buying Bitcoin, and I started buying cash reserves. So I kept it in cash and bought some strategy because I wasn't a strategy shareholder till December. And so what I basically did is 50% of what I had access on cash, I put into cash, and 50% of that went into strategy. So I built for the first time ever in my life a cash buffer that could actually last me more than 2 weeks. Like, I never had that in my life. I always put everything into investing, which served me well. But now I have the company, I have freelancers, I have my soon-to-be wife. We are getting married in a couple of weeks, and so it's
Congratulations,
like,
bro.
oh, thank you, I appreciate that. But it's like like your responsibilities grow and your bills grow, and so you have to be like, oh yeah, I have to have cash in it, and all that is emergency, like because all the income covers all of that. Like there's more income than expenses. But what if it's not? Because I'm in the business with no certainty at all. I could literally lose all my income within like a month or 2 months. There's some certain, like probably 2 months. So if it goes really bad, I could lose all my income in 2 months. I don't have any certainties or something like that. And so out of that necessity, I'm like, I need cash in order to survive short term without selling Bitcoin. And that's
Yes.
kind of the reason why I do it.
Yeah, that's the key because I once I put my Bitcoin in cold storage, I so far, and I'm God willing, I'm very lucky with that I haven't sold that. So I keep a certain amount on Lightning, not that much, but I keep a certain amount with that. But yeah, cash is definitely a thing you need. I'm in the high 90s% Bitcoin versus cash. But again, I try to tell people, I used to be against credit cards, but credit cards are a safe haven, especially cards that give you back Bitcoin and things like that, or just points in general. that you can use the extra points to buy Bitcoin. But I tell people just to try to balance it out. And when I make my budget, I do have a line there with my expenses as an emergency fund. Put a certain amount in there for an emergency. And usually the emergency is Bitcoin went down and I bought more. But unfortunately. But
It's
again, credit
a good emergency.
yes. Yes. But again, cash, we definitely have to have cash right now, but Bitcoin's for the long term for sure.
One question I wanted to ask you, because I heard that I think before, but I never really understood it. You said gold has a premium on top of that. Is that different in than the exchange fee that you have to buy when you buy Bitcoin? Because if you buy Bitcoin, you also have to like a 0.5%, 1%. Like sometimes it's free, sometimes the exchanges don't charge you something some conditions. But like you also have a kind of a fee or a premium with Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well, you got to look at it like this, right? You have to look at it from the actual seller's point of view. So when you have I don't know, a Coinbase or a Strike or whoever sells Bitcoin, they charge their fees in two ways, right? So if the price is a certain amount, they'll put a little bit on the price. So if the price is 72,500, they might add $100 or $200 on top of that to say that's what it is, and also they'll charge you a percentage or whatever, and that's how they make their quote unquote money to run their business. Well, with gold shops, they charge you a premium on top of that, except it's a lot higher. Now, I haven't bought gold or silver since 2023, so I don't know what the percentages are anymore. But if you when I was buying, let's say an ounce of silver, let's say spot price for an ounce of silver was $25. They would usually charge between $1.50 and up to much as $3 on top of that. So if it's $25, you'd pay 26.50 or $28 on top of that. I mean, 20, a couple bucks on top of that. But then when you went to sell it, and let's just say the spot price was still 25, they may give you 23 or $24 for it. And that's what I was talking about. And that's the difference. And again, and this is why I switched. I sold all my precious metals for Bitcoin is because I remember when I was buying both and I was justifying that, oh, I need gold and silver as well. It's like a military, you need the army and the navy together to work against the fiat system. And we both need, precious metals, the hard money and stuff like that. But I remember one day, because I used to deliver food and it was a cash business I would make cash every day. So what I would do is I would wake up in the morning and go to the coin shop to buy, the cash outside of my expenses, go, the insurance and taxes and gas and stuff. And I'd go over to the coin shop. But before I did that, Robin, I would roll over in bed. And this one I was buying on Cash App and I would just buy Bitcoin and just buy it like that. And I realized that not only are the fees much lower, but I don't have to haggle with the guy behind the counter saying, "Hey, can you give it to me for this or that?" The price is what it is, and it's very, very the very minimum fees on top, but also the convenience of it. I don't have to get up and move anywhere. I can just do it from my bed. And this is back when Bitcoin was like in the 15, 16,000s, and I wish I would have bought more. But yeah, so those are the fees on top of it. And again, that's why Bitcoin, in my personal opinion, no knock on gold and silver. The fees are much, much cheaper. And to me, it's just much, much better. Bitcoin.
Yeah, the friction is something I want to touch on also later because with most other assets, there's so many more friction points in there, and Bitcoin, you just like it's the easiest thing to buy. But before that, I also heard with gold that you have a benefit if you buy more of it. Like it's actually like if you get a better price, less premium, and all of that, if you buy bigger amounts of gold versus if you buy just like short, small amounts, which with Bitcoin you don't really have that. I mean, there's over-the-count trading and all of that, but it's really doesn't matter. Like whatever you buy, that's what you get. You actually have to be because it's still a smaller asset. I guess you have to be a little bit more careful if you buy a lot of it. I don't know exactly how strategy and all the big companies deal with that to not influence the market too much. There are definitely techniques to that, probably. I'm not an expert on that though. Is there also something like that with gold? If you live in Europe like I do and want to buy Bitcoin the right way, check out Relai. Relai is a Bitcoin only platform with no distractions, no shitcoins, just a BTC. It's also the easiest way I've found to do what actually works, buying Bitcoin on a consistent basis. Relai is also self-custodial. They never have the keys to your Bitcoin. No freezing of your assets, no counterparty risk, no rug pulling whatsoever. I have been a long-term fan of Relai, not only because it's incredible, easy to use and very beginner friendly, but also because it just works. If you want to get started with Relai today, click the link down in the pinned comment or in the description. And once you have downloaded the app, type in Robin in the referral code section of the app to save 10% on fees. So set up your DCA Bitcoin plan today with the Relai app and get cheaper Bitcoin if you use code Robin. With Microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because Microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today. And you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io. Finally, we have BTC Prague back in 2026. And this year, I'm not only speaking on a panel, but I'm actually going to present an interesting new angle, a perspective, a Bitcoin thesis at BTC Prague this year for the first time ever. I've never done that on any other conference, so this will be a fun one. If you listen to this show on a regular basis, I would love to meet you in Prague this year. It's very high signal, no noise, and Prague is just a freaking amazing city with awesome drinks and a lot of good food. Use code Robin to get 10% off, and if you buy with Bitcoin, you get an additional 5% off your ticket price. I'll see you there in Prague. Make sure to come say hi.
With the exchange, a couple exchanges that I used, they for Bitcoin real quick, is the more you buy, I think over the month, I don't know if it's one big buy at the same time, but I guess it could happen because you add it up towards the month. They give you a less of a fee because you're buying more with Bitcoin. Some exchanges do. But with gold, it just depends on I guess it depends on the coin shop you deal with, your relationship with them, and also what's going on in the market at the time, right? If they need something sold, like I live in Las Vegas, as you can see, and one of the reasons I moved here is because Nevada is a silver state, and I was big time into gold and silver. That's how much I love Bitcoin, guys. By the way, I moved here to buy silver and gold, and then I realized Bitcoin was better, and I stayed here, and I don't have any more silver or gold. But he would call me because I'd go there every day. I'd buy 7 days a week. He'd call me and say, "Hey, Jerry, I need this out of here. I have this certain silver or this certain gold. Can you come and get it?" And I said, "Well, what can you do for me?" And then he'd tell me, "Oh, I'd give you this, or give you that off discount." And I said, "Okay, cool, thank you." But I also would say, "Hey, look, man, I want to buy a lot of silver today. I want to buy whatever gold today. Can you give me a discount if I buy more?" And 9 times out of 10, they say, "Yeah." So, it depends again on all those factors that I just said, but definitely it's almost like, going to I don't know if you're familiar with, the big box stores here like Costco's and the big ones here. When you buy in bulk, they usually give you a pretty good discount, but some exchanges with Bitcoin will do that as well.
Imagine if you buy in bulk Bitcoin, you get like a 10% discount. Like that would be freaking
Oh,
awesome.
yeah. Yeah. They just give you a little bit off the fees. I think some of them will charge you 1%, I believe. The exchange that I use now, once you hit a certain amount that you're buying per month, it'll go for 1% to point 9%, then point 0.95, then 0.89, depending on the amount. They won't give you an actual discount on the Bitcoin, but they will give you a discount on the fees they charge you to buy the Bitcoin. So
A discount on the Bitcoin would be, I guess, a losing game for them also. Ah, I wanted to make that point about friction. I'm curious what you think about that, because this was one point of Bitcoin that I haven't really thought about before, up until a couple of weeks ago. And so the point was, I was trying to figure out, okay, there's real estate, there's Bitcoin, there's gold, there's Bitcoin, there's stocks, there's Bitcoin. And most of my life, I just bought Bitcoin. I bought stocks before, but my life is not that old, so I haven't gotten that many experiences.
you're really into Tesla, right? If I'm not
I
mistaken.
was really into Tesla. Like I was basically all into Tesla actually, which
So
like
Tesla, so Tesla was your Bitcoin before Bitcoin.
Tesla was my Bitcoin before Bitcoin, and it taught me the ups and downs of stocks. So I was actually like very used to volatility because of Tesla, and it Tesla was a lot smaller company when I bought it. Like I'm now no longer into Tesla since 3 year, no 6 year, no 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. I'm no longer a Tesla shareholder, and
How long did
before
you have it for? When'd you start and when'd you stop?
I don't. It's very hard for me to figure out the exact dates, but I had it. So like I sold it around 2021. I know that I sold it around that time. I know that I've sold it for about a 12x, which was like absurd for me. And I probably held it for multiple years, but I don't know exactly how many years. I bought it very early, like when I was like 19 years old or so. Like I bought it very early in my thing. And the funny thing is, the first half year when I bought it, it went down like 40%. It's like the first half year in Tesla, I just like bought it, it went down. Bought it, it went down further. Bought it, went down further. And at some point, I lost like, I don't know, 3,000, which was huge for me. It was huge for me because I was just a student. It was basically all my money that I had. And then I was like, okay, I don't care. I either die with it or I ride with it to the stars. And so I put my last thousand. I remember that moment actually very clearly because I put my last €1,000 at like I was 35% or so down on my position. It's like I put it in there. If it works out, it's amazing. If it doesn't work out, hey, I'm just 19, 20, whatever age I was. Also, like if you have no money with 20 years old, you are like every other 21-year-old. So it doesn't really matter at that age. And then it just like kept on growing. I think this was the point where it just like kept on growing, kept on growing. And it was hard because I was the only person that got Tesla back then. Now there's like so many influencers also. I mean, there was already a little bit of a space there. There was like one, two that talked about it and like, hey, like why you should buy it. When I invested in Tesla, they were not even profitable. They were losing money every single month, and I think they continued to be unprofitable for I think 1-2 years that I invested there. So it was not an easy journey. And like my dad said, oh yeah, like it's your money, do whatever you want with it. But I think they're going bankrupt. And like like it's really hard to find that conviction. And I'm so happy that I did not fold, but go deeper into like researching, go deeper into like, do I really believe in that? And so I learned that with Tesla and got luckily and thankfully rewarded because honestly I didn't have that much clue what I was really doing. I was like 19, 20 years old. And I think this was priming me for Bitcoin. When I went into Bitcoin and there was the volatility, I'm like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't really care about it. And it made me a lot stronger in Bitcoin. That's why I never sold Bitcoin. Never made those mistakes that a lot of the early Bitcoiners are doing.
So what do you think? What do you think was not the bigger lesson, but was it the 12x that you made that was more important to you, or was it the lessons you learned to get you ready for Bitcoin? If you had to choose one, what was more important for you? I know the money's important because you got bought more Bitcoin, but the lessons you learned because you could have sold Bitcoin early if you didn't get into Tesla and learn those things early.
I That's a hard question, because if I if I don't get the experience and just the money, I don't think you gained anything. So I'm a very strong believer in, if you give a poor person with a poor person's money mindset a lot of money, he will lose it all. He will not deal with it. He will be gone. You see this with lottery winners. I mean, you in Las Vegas. There's probably a lot of examples there also that like went there, like get lucky and come back 1 year later even more poor than before. And lottery winners, there's a lot of studies, a lot of stories around that, where they win the lottery, they lose most of it, and they are more poor than after 1 year than they were before. So I believe the experience and the learnings and the teachings is the most important thing, and that's why I feel it's actually very calming to know that, because you think of like, okay, I have that amount of Bitcoin, I have that amount of strategy, I have my podcast here, but what if Bitcoin breaks down, this breaks down, the podcast breaks down, what if it all goes? I do the same thing with AI, I do the same thing with music, I do the same thing with chess, I do the same thing. Like, the skills, the experience, the mindset is more important than the money that you gain from that. Obviously, it's very nice
Yes.
to make with a small amount of money, which I had, a 12x, because a 12x is always amazing. I mean, it's still not like millions, but it's like 12x is amazing no matter what you put in there, especially if you're 19 years old. And also the discipline of not selling when it goes up. That was also, it's also huge learning
That's what
for
I'm saying.
Bitcoiners, because if you're like, oh, it goes 2x, oh, I could buy this with it. 5x, oh, I could buy a Tesla with it now. 7x, oh, nice. But I was writing it, and I don't know where it came from. I don't know why I have that, but I I'm not I'm not attracted to like buying things. Like it, I have what I have, and most of my expenses these days are actually business expenses, because I buy it to like build something new. So I have very little personal expenses besides rent and food. I like going out to food. Like I'm a foodie. That's the only thing I'm probably splurging a little bit too much on. But
Mhm.
yeah, like keeping the money in there, I think it will be hard for the new Bitcoiners that come in right now to stay in Bitcoin over the next 10 years, riding Bitcoin to a million, 10 million, and not selling at 700K because they made a 10x.
Yes. And I asked you that for a reason because our some of our viewers may not be into Bitcoin as long as we have. We've been in, a few years. But that's the lesson, guys. It ain't about the money. I always say that on my show. It ain't about the money, bro. It's about the lessons that you learn. And I did the same thing over the years with different assets and stuff like that. But I really learned that just like Robin did with Tesla, I did that with gold and silver. I never forget. I moved here to Las Vegas, and it was right after the election of 2020, and I met a man, and he's my friend to this day. He was I don't want to call him homeless, but he doesn't have anywhere to live right now, and he's a very nice man. And I met him, and we got to talking, and he didn't ask me for anything or anything like that, but he was always around this certain casino I would go to, just because I used to watch sports and stuff on these big screens, and he'd just be in there just chilling out. And every time I went, he was there, and he was teaching me about a lot of things about life and money. He's older than me. He's about 74 or something like that. Nice man. And after about 3 months, because he just had so much knowledge, and I was wondering why would a guy this smart, again, he's older than me, but he really doesn't have anything. Well, come to find out, he used to be a multi-millionaire, and I'm talking high millionaires, like 10 plus million dollars. What happened was he was an engineer from California, and he came to Las Vegas, and he stepped out of his realm, and he stepped into something he didn't understand and know about, and that was the world of gambling. And he got very into that, and he lost everything. Not only did he lose his money, but he lost his family and everything else, his livelihood, everything, because he was just trying to get back what he lost and stuff like that. And he told me, so the lesson he learned was Never to dive in to something that you don't understand or know about. Learn about it first. He is an expert. He's an expert now at gambling, but he wasn't an expert until he lost all his money. And before he went into gambling, he said, I should have done all the research that I'm doing now, because he thought his money that he had, the money that he had that he thought that was more important than his education on learning what he was getting into. And I think Bitcoin is the best way to do that. I think Bitcoin, having it and learning the lessons of how the world works, the monetary system, politics, and everything else, and just the ups and downs that we go through every single day. Because again, gambling is kind of like that. You go through a lot of ups. You have some good days, you have some bad days. And I'm not saying Bitcoin is a gamble by no means, but the lesson that you learn while you have the money is hold on tight, don't sell, and learn everything you can about this situation. Because if you don't, like Robin said, at a young age, like Robin was 19, putting all his money into it as a college student, because we're all broke college students at that age, he didn't sell. He kept it. And it's the complete opposite of the man that was in his, I believe, late 60s when he was doing this stuff, when he lost it all. The lesson he learned that, I mean, lesson he didn't learn until later was that, you know, you got to understand what you're in while you're doing it, and you have to go through the ups and downs. So, guys, I know sometimes Bitcoin is a roller coaster. It is, and this is not financial advice, but I would just tell you to just keep holding it, keep stacking, and keep learning as much as you can, because the lesson is this is the long game, and always understand what you have so you can understand what you're going to go through when you go through the tough times.
The I there's one more I want to add there because I think it fits nicely. I've learned this from a coach that I had in swimming very early on, and I didn't fully understand what he was saying back then, and I got it more later. He said to me, "Work for skills, experience, and mindset, not for money. And if you do that, money will follow." Something like that. He said it obviously in German, and it it's such an interesting thing because as a young boy, especially I think as a young boy, you are extremely focused on money. You really want to, I want to make money like thousands, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. I just want to make it every single month. I want to hustle. I want to do all those things. And I don't care about what I learn or the experience or the mindset or anything like that. You just want to get to the money. But it's actually having that like lower time reference of learning for skills, experience, and mindset. It gives you a lot more freedom later on. It's hard. It's a hard path because usually it's not as financially rewarding. And like you gotta eat, you gotta survive. So like cover that first. Like you have to cover your basics. And if that means you have to work 30 hours to survive, take the other 30 hours that you have in a week to work for skills, experience, and mindset. I mean, that goes maybe a little bit away from the Bitcoin thing, but I think if you want to level up and you want to get more Bitcoin, don't trade with it. Figure out how to be a more valuable member of society. And so you get a higher income, get a better status. That's one thing I just want to add there because I don't know, for some reason, I think it fits nicely.
Yes, that was a great quote that your coach said, and that was well said, man. Yeah, it's like that, man, because I liken Bitcoiners to almost like we're kind of like professional athletes, kind of. When I say that, people are like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, I actually know a few professional athletes, and the things that they have to go through to get to where they're at is unbelievable. So when you see these kids getting drafted, whether it's the NBA, NFL, or whatever, and then you see them getting a rookie contract or a big contract on the back end, you're thinking, wow, how is he getting millions of dollars and blah, 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 blah. Well, you don't see what that person has been doing ever since they've been a kid. When you're in the top 1% of something, especially a sport in the four major sports here in America, and you put in the time and the dedication. Yeah, some of it is talent because you're born with talent, but you have to develop skills. right? Because we all have a talent. We're all born with something, right? Robin is, very, very tall and he speaks well. Very tall. I'm 6'2" and I'm looking up at him like, holy crap. And some people are just born with certain things, right? You have a talent, but you have to work on the skill, right? So with Bitcoin, I tell people that use your talent because Bitcoin to me is like the biggest team in the world, the best team in the world. And I made a video about this a couple of weeks ago. We all have to play our role and play our part. Just like even the superstar on the team, they call the people that are lesser in the game, they call them quote unquote role players, whether it's soccer or football or basketball or whatever. But we're all role players, right? We all play our role. And I tell people this all the time. Whatever you do, just do it to the best of your ability. You don't have to be the best at what you do, just do what you do best and apply that to Bitcoin. So when you see these kids coming up playing these sports for years and years and years, and again, I don't think Bitcoin is going to take that long. But when you're developing your skills as a person in a sport, aka as the Bitcoin analogy goes, the sport of economics, geopolitics, or just how the world works, or whatever. Because again, when you change the world and at the base layer with sound money, if you fix that money, obviously you're going to fix the world. But when you're coming up and you're working your butt off right now as a Bitcoiner, you have to make sacrifices, just like these professional athletes. When you see these guys out here making millions and millions of dollars, you think, oh my God, they're living a great life. They live a very boring life. They really do. They get up in the morning and they train. Then they go back and they eat breakfast. Then they hang out and they go again. Kobe Bryant is the highest level of this thinking. He said he made a conscious decision and he made a obsessive decision to say, I want to be the best basketball player I could be. And he did everything he could. And he said, and I said the word sacrifice, but even he says it's not a sacrifice to me. He is because everybody else is going to the club and they're hanging out and they're doing these things. And he's like, where am I? Where's the growth in that? I'm not growing sitting at a club drinking alcohol. I'm going to be in the gym. So while you're doing that, I'm doing this and I'm working. So as Bitcoiners, it's a very lonely life, man. It's a very lonely life, just like those athletes, because they're in the top 1%. And I'm going to tell you guys out there, you may not know this or not, but you are in the top 1%. Everybody in your family thinks you're crazy. They think you're insane, spending all this time watching these videos, putting your time and effort, energy and money into this thing. And they have no idea what it is. They have no idea that you're going to be one of the most richest, powerfulest persons in the world. And it ain't about that. You're going to be there. But the team that we're on now, the reason why I say it's the greatest team and the most important team and the best team is because we're changing the world. Robin's a lot younger than me, so he'll see it longer than I will. But we're changing the world for our future generations. We understand what's going on here. The money is broken and it's terrible. And you have to play your part on this team. And you have to make these quote unquote sacrifices. But again, what else are you going to do? Now that you know this and you see what's going on, are you going to sit in it, like Kobe said, are you going to sit in the bar and drink beer and watch the game like everybody else? So back to that analogy with the pro athletes sacrificed to build a incredible life for their family in the future. And because you're on this team with Bitcoin, you're doing the same. So I know it feels lonely. That's why I tell people to go to conferences, speak to people, join groups that are Bitcoiners groups, get with guys like Robin and everything else. But you're not alone. Even though you feel alone, you're in the top 1%. But again, surround yourself with people that are like-minded like you. Think long-term and remember, you are part of the greatest team ever assembled. And you have to do your part.
The most important thing for your Bitcoin journey is not buying Bitcoin, but it's how to keep them. And yes, you have maybe the right tools, but how do you actually go ahead and stick it all together so it's the most secure for you personally? Self-custody is a deeply personalized journey, and the Bitcoin way is helping you exactly finding that correct setup for you personally. They're also helping you with securing your own cybersecurity security. And if you want to go one step above all that, you can even get a consultation for a Plan B residency. Go to thebitcoinway.com/Robin and you will get a 30-minute free consultation. I finally and officially mine Bitcoin. This is not just something to stack more Satoshis, but it's most importantly also to support the network. Individual miners are the ones that keep the Bitcoin network decentralized. And by the way, you get KYC-free Bitcoin. That's why I use Simple Mining. I get an actual proper Bitcoin miner. They set it up for me. They repair it if it breaks down. And most importantly, they let me choose the pool and even connect my own full node. I'm completely sovereign and I'm completely in control, and I can sign up with Ocean, no account needed. I just give them a Bitcoin address and then there's mining going on. No KYC, nothing. So if you're ready to mine Bitcoin, go to simplemining.io, tell them you come from Robin, and let's mine Bitcoin together. I love that. That is, I hope my clipper clips that and puts it on the clips channel, because I think this is an amazing, I don't know, 5-6 minutes that people should remember, and we should put in eternity and not hidden in a 1-2 hour podcast somewhere in the middle.
Thank you.
Really cool. I think there is those 3 pillars that I sometimes talk about in Bitcoin. There's the pillar of the wealth aspect, the benefit of the wealth aspect. So when you get Bitcoin, you get the number go up, you get the wealth aspect. There's a second pillar of freedom. And this you only get if you self-custody your Bitcoin, if you run your node, all those things. So the freedom aspect of Bitcoin, if you hold your Bitcoin yourself. It's hard to get it if you don't do self-custody. Then the third aspect is exactly what you said. Like, you have to be a player on the team. You have to be into Bitcoin. You have to be in the culture. You have to be in the environment. You have to be in the meetups, on the conference, and all of those things. And you don't have to do the third thing to get the first 2 things. But I would say that you get a lot of more of those 2 first things, the freedom and the wealth aspect, if you are connected to a lot of other Bitcoiners, if you are a cultural member of the Bitcoin society. And I think this is very important, especially in the bear market. I mean, I don't know if we now are no longer in the bear market, if we now in the bull market, maybe we enter the bear market again, no clue. But let's say we are still in the bear market. We're still not at 100K or something like that. So let's say we are still at the bear market. It's the best place to start. It's the best place because it's not as crowded. It's not as hectic and stressful as in the bull market. And you can really start making connections with people that actually care about Bitcoin. Because in the bull market, let's say it's November 2026 and we had $230,000. I think it's not a crazy thing to say that. There are a lot more people in Bitcoin and a lot more people that really don't care about Bitcoin. It's a lot more crowded. So being Bitcoin sub 100K, it's not as crowded, and those people that are in after 40% drop within a half a year, those people are the real deal, because their conviction goes above the number grab technology, and they actually care about the fundamental Bitcoin development, the technology underneath it.
Yes, absolutely. And I have a I have a different look when it comes to when people say bear market and bull market. I think it's all a bear market. Anything under 10 million a coin. Honestly, I'm just saying, man. When you look at, and I think Coinbase did this. I show this on my show. That best commercial ever, when they show all the Bitcoins in a quarter, like the size of a quarter, and they put it into a shipping container. And it's one shipping container. If one Bitcoin was the size of a quarter, it fits inside of one shipping container. And then they showed all the shipping containers of dollars being printed every single day, month, and year, and they compared it. It's like What are we measuring Bitcoin in? You know, yeah, pull that Coinbase commercial. It's crazy. And if you want to play it, we can. And when you look at that, I'm like, anything under 10 million is just it's crazy. And you can get this many Satoshis, 100 million Satoshis in every dollar. I mean, every 100 million Satoshis in every Bitcoin, you can get, you know, as of this recording, 1,200 something. Did you find it?
I'm about to find it. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So you can get 1,200 something units for $1. And like you said, the three pillars you said, wealth, freedom, and being a team player. I actually have a couple of groups that I'm a part of, and mastermind groups are the best. When you get together with somebody that's like-minded like you, Napoleon Hill talks about this in Think and Grow Rich. It's called a mastermind group. When you get together with people that see things different than you it's almost like a magical thing. Like me and Robin were talking before the show, and Robin may be very smart in one thing and may be very smart in other, but when we get together, we feed off of each other, right? Robin has a show that he does with several people. I do a show. It's called the Truth of Work podcast. I do Truth of Work podcast. I do it with BTC Backpacker and the Bitcoin Technician. We do a show every Sunday, and they bring out something in me that I didn't even know I had, and they give me ideas I didn't even think about. So when you get with other people, and like Robin said, with the three pillars, being a team player and getting with other people, you won't believe not only the camaraderie that you will have, but the ideas that you'll have, and it makes you feel like you're not alone in this world. You know, you're going to be a very, very, very wealthy person if you hold on to your Bitcoin. If you buy Satoshis and DCA, you're going to be a very wealthy person. And again, they're printing so many dollars, it doesn't even make sense. So again, get with your team and form a mastermind group.
100%. It's something very important to do. But I've got now finally I found it. This apparently it is from. Can I make this bigger? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, in the corner,
Um,
in the corner of the
the
bottom right corner of the video.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, I think, but then I think it's mess. Oh,
No, it's
it's
good. It's good.
perfect. God, you are a master. You you
Yeah,
you do
I've
that.
done this. I've done this a couple times.
You do that for a living, right?
If a Bitcoin was the size of a quarter, all 21 million of them would fit inside a single shipping container. But to fit the dollars the Fed prints on average every day, you'd need 72 shipping containers. Each year, you'd need 26,280 containers. And to fit what they've printed in the last decade, well, you'd need a lot more than that.
Look at that scale. There's a small. I cannot really look at because the thing comes up. There's like very small, not the green small one. There's underneath a small one which represents a Bitcoin. It's like so much more, and that's a great. I have not seen that commercial for some reason. Actually, it's a really good one.
Yeah, and there's a second one too. There's a part two of that that's even better. So if you can find that, but that's what I'm saying, guys. Obviously, a lot of people may not get one Bitcoin, but you don't need one Bitcoin. We're at the point on the timeline that when you walk up to 1,000 people and you ask them what inflation is, they'll look at you like you got three heads on your shoulders. They have no idea what it is. They'll just say prices are going up. When you try to, orange pill people or tell people about Bitcoin, it ain't about telling people about the Bitcoin because Bitcoin is a solution. It's about telling people about the problem. And the problem is the money printing, like we just showed. And if you can find that second clip to show that too, but it's just amazing when you see the scarcity, the absolute scarcity of something that we know they're not making any more of. And if you can get a piece of that, and that's going to be the base layer, you're going to be very, very wealthy in the future.
And I think we talked about you talked about it in the beginning about that gold rush that Saylor was talking about, and I think he was right. Just the timing was off. I think he started talking about that in January 2024, and I think now with all the tools and all the services and companies that we've built out to facilitate the gold rush, we're now actually ready to do that. We have the strategies and the treasury companies to cling on to the bond market, cling on to the money market to get the monetary premium out of there. We have a lot of real estate companies even. I know Savannah and Horizon, and there's many other that makes it possible for homeowners to put their money into Bitcoin directly. Awesome things. So like we have all those kind of asset buckets, and we have tools and services and companies that help you get that to Bitcoin. And I think we needed that. We needed the last like 2-3 years of development in the TradFi world to get all those pipes going for Bitcoin. And now we are entering, I personally think, that actual gold rush that Michael Saylor was talking about 2 years ago is kind of starting now. I mean, the development already started 2 years ago, but the effects of it will be very visible in the next 10 years, I think.
I agree. We're looking at an asset, guys, that everybody wants. They just don't know they want it yet because they don't know what it is. They don't know what it is, and they don't know the problem. But I have never met anybody. You can tell me, Robin. I've never met anybody that figured out the problem, that inflation's bad, money printing, and all this other stuff, then learned about Bitcoin, understood Bitcoin, and then said, no, that ain't for me. Never, not once. So once you see it, you can't unsee it. And when you're getting involved with it and you're buying it, you're buying a piece of the finite pie. Again, this is why I always talk about Satoshis. I have a series I do every Saturday called Satoshi Saturday. I've been doing it for 2 years. I'm at episode 100 and something now, depending on when this video comes out. And I don't like to talk about Bitcoin too much because Bitcoin is the marketing tool. I'm Mr. Satoshi, man. I love talking about Satoshis, and maybe one day they'll break up the Satoshis and make them even smaller than they are now. Because again, with Michael Saylor and strategy and their product Stretch buying so many, with this gold rush, if you will, it's going to be very, very difficult to buy as many Satoshis as you're getting today for the price that you're getting today. You're getting over 1,000 sats for $1 today, if the price holds. Saylor is buying so many Bitcoin. I think at the end of the year he'll have 1 million. That's what they're projecting. I think the last time I checked, by September, he'll have 1 million Bitcoin, which would be right there with Satoshi himself. With all the coins that are lost and everybody else buying, you can front run these companies. You will be more powerful than a lot of these companies right now. By the time they figure it out, because again, the thing that you have over these companies, you don't have more money than them. You don't have more power or influence, but you do have time. And you can get it for very, very cheap. 1 Bitcoin is not going to be a thing people are going to talk about in the future because nobody's going to have 1 Bitcoin. Meeting a Bitcoiner is like that has 1 full Bitcoin. It will be equivalent of knowing a billionaire. I don't know too many billionaires. People that have whole coins today are going to be living on top of the hill, on top of the hill, on top of the hill. So get as many as you can. Long story short, get as many as you can. This is the Bitcoin gold rush. Me personally, I'm on the Saylor page that once we get to 99% of all Bitcoin mined, we're over 95% now, and we hit a big milestone the other day and nobody talked about it when we mined 20 million Bitcoin out of the 21 million. And I looked on the news and nobody was talking about it. This is where we're at on the timeline. Michael Saylor says once we get down to the 1%, the last 1%, 99% of all the Bitcoin will be mined. As of this recording, I believe it's February 2035. You got some time to buy as much, but again, who knows with the gradually then suddenly thing? And I think that's coming. But before it comes and until it comes, get as many sats as you can while you can.
What was that with February 2025?
February 2035. If I said 2025, I meant 2035.
35.
February 2035 is, if you look at Clark Moody dashboard, look at this future supply section of Clark Moody dashboard. It'll show you that 99% of the Bitcoin will be mined and only 1% from that date, February 2035, until whenever 2140. So 105 years for the last 1%. of a finite item with, again, Michael Saylor and everybody buying it. It's not enough to go around.
It's very true. What would be the best? It's a random question, but I'm just curious if you have an opinion on that. What name would you like to have for the smaller instances of Satoshis, Nakamoto's, bits? Do you have any, or like any, even something else?
That's a good question, man. I think about that often too. I'm not good with names like that because I'm kind of corny. But we obviously call it Satoshis. I don't think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Robin. I don't think Satoshi Nakamoto actually called them Satoshis in the white paper. I think early adopters called it Satoshis. Um, I got into an argument last year at the Bitcoin conference with a guy. He was calling Satoshi's Bitcoins. He said we should call Satoshi's Bitcoins, and the reason being is because Bitcoin's a better name and blah 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 blah. And I said, nah, I didn't agree with that. Um, what would I call it? Well, first of all, I would definitely move the decimal point back one. So instead of the Satoshi being in the eighth place of after the decimal point, I'd move it back to 9. Uh, I don't even know if I'd call it something else. I want to say micro sat or fractional sat, but if that's going to be the new money, if that's going to be it, then maybe just keep it as Satoshi and just move it back a decimal point. Because what do some of these companies like Strategy? Remember Strategy? I think they uh what do they not divided by 10, but remember they broke up their MSTR by 10. They divided it by 10. So every share
Oh,
became
oh gosh, stock splitting, I think it's called,
stock
right?
split. Yeah, and they didn't call it anything else. So I would be okay just keeping it calling it Satoshi, Satoshis. So, but I don't know.
It's interesting. So like the
What would you call it?
I don't know. I like I like the word Nakamoto, but honestly, it's probably a bad thing because if this really, it's like kind of Japanese and it's a world thing. So I don't know if it's good to have like this Japanese thing in there, but it is Satoshi Nakamoto, the founder of it, and he gave it that name. Uh, so it would be a nice tribute. And yeah, actually, the Satoshis, there's a there's a movie out there. It's called Satoshis Don't Exist. We call it Satoshis, and it's not in the white paper. And so, like Satoshis is actually something that comes from the community. We could call it anything, but it kind of stuck with us. So, um, uh, yeah, it's interesting because we have all the opportunity. We could break it down. We can move to decimal points. We can do whatever we want with it. Uh, the question is I think changing the Satoshis will be very hard because people are already used to it, the apps and all of those things. They are very strict already on that, and they're like the network effects on keeping that name will be very hard to break. The same way as I know people that actually say like, oh, we should call the Satoshi's Bitcoin because it's like easier marketing. I'm like, I disagree with that a lot, but
Me too.
you keep trying because it's an impossible task ahead of you of convincing everyone to do that. Um, I would love Nakamoto's for some reason, like or Bits. I think Bits also, but Bits has so many other things also involved in it. So I don't know. I would like to have Nakamoto's. Yeah, and I hope it will be a community decision and something cool, because we definitely need it at some point.
Yeah. And yeah, my dream is to have and I've said this on your show before, but my dream is to have a $1 Satoshi equality, or what is it? Parity. $1 to each sat parity. So there'd be so I said one decimal point, but with this would be two decimal points where moving it back, where every single dollar has 100 little micro Satoshis in it. So there's one Satoshi per dollar, and then break it down to 100 little small units of that inside every dollar. And then every single digital dollar that we have would be backed by Satoshi, and every single person would know how much we have. Because the problem is, Robin, and this is why I say Bitcoin is political. This is what I talk about on my show. And I don't want to go on a rant here, but real quick, is that the United States and a lot of countries have a spending problem. These politicians have no recourse on how they govern when it comes to spending, right? America, we have increased our revenue by quite a bit since Trump has been in with the tariffs and everything else, the controversial tariffs and other things. We bring in about 5.4 trillion. The problem is, Robin, is we spend 7.1 trillion. And when you borrow and print and stuff like that, and you have no, I mean, again, Elon Musk tried to do the best he could with Doge for those 100 days he was there, and the machine, I call it, the apparatus, chewed him up and spit him out and said, "We don't want you here. We don't want to stop spending. We don't want to stop doing all this." I can't say that. All these things that they're doing. Okay, and if we can, and my goal is simple. We always talk about breaking the system and stuff like that, and ending fiat. Um, Again, I think fiat is an evil, poisonous thing, but you can't just change it over to Bitcoin. So I just think a gradually thing of having a Satoshi and a Bitcoin parity, having 100 little micro Satoshis in every dollar, and people actually can just, instead of investing their money, they can just work for these Satoshi-backed, dollar-backed Satoshi or Satoshi-backed dollars, and then save it. And then they can move it to the future and not only keep their purchasing power for them and their family, but they can increase their purchasing power just by working and creating value in the system. But that's my dream, and that's what I'm working for every day. That's what I want. I don't know if I'll be able to see that in my lifetime, but hopefully my grandkids and my great grandkids can see that one day we can break the system and start it off new with Bitcoin.
I also wonder a lot how we get there, because maybe we don't need to break up the Bitcoins, and maybe we don't need to break up the Satoshis, and we just keep it with Bitcoin and Satoshis. And we have layer twos, layer threes. We have things, for example, like Stretch, things that are built on top of Bitcoin, that are financial instruments that are not making it necessary to break it up if you have a small amount. But yeah, there's a lot of questions on like how we actually scale there. Obviously now it's not a problem. Like a Satoshi is a small amount, a small enough amount. A small enough amount to be usable for everything right now, and it's will be still the case if Bitcoin is at 500,000, at 1 million. At 1 million, it slowly starts to get a big amount, even one Satoshi, where it's like slowly we have to think about that. But then maybe we just come up with something outside. Because also there's this dust thing, like the UTXOs, and the main chain has some kind of problem if there's too much going on Bitcoin, and then like one transaction can get lost in dust because the transaction fees are rising. And if the transaction fee is higher than the amount you want to send, obviously you won't send it. So there will be coming a lot of challenges towards us with all of the how we scale Bitcoin. And I think it's like in the internet revolution in 1997 or 1998, somewhere along those lines, where you kind of try to predict what's coming on top of the internet, but you couldn't. It's like too early for that. And I think we are on that stage in Bitcoin. The one thing that I'm 100%, the one thing that I'm 99.9999% sure about, because you never know, is having more Bitcoin is a good thing. If I keep it very simple and abstract.
Absolutely. It's always about getting better every single day. Whatever the thing is in your life, but again, I buy Bitcoin quite often, quite often, many times a day. And the more you have, the better you are. But those are good problems to have, Robin. When we're talking, and this going back to the third pillar you talked about with the being a team player and getting with a mastermind group. I think by then, once we hit 1 million per Bitcoin, we'll be at 100 satoshis per dollar then. And then I think by then, I think it's going to be, if we hit 1 million, let's just say we hit 1 million at in 2029 or something like that. That'll be 20 years into Bitcoin. I think that first million, what do they say about the first million? The first million is always the hardest, and the second is always the easiest. So it's not going to take 20 years to get to that next million. It's going to be very, very, I think it'll take way less time to get to that first million, which would be 20 years, than to get to 10 million. I think it'll even take just a couple years to get to 10 million. So by then, there's going to be a lot of smart people, because again, we have some of the smartest people in the world in Bitcoin. I think by then we'll have a lot of smart people from Apple, people from Google, people from all these different places that will be working on layer 2 and 3 situations that'll get us different payment rails, if you will, to make payments and use Bitcoin as more and more leaving the store of value situation, because I think a good money has to be a great store of value, and it still will be, but to even a better and more usable medium of exchange. So with that said, my idea bringing to the table, if we were sitting all at a mastermind table, me, you, Robin, and somebody else, I would say let's do the dollar-backed Satoshi. You would say your way. But again, that's a good problem, because we're all thinking about breaking this system up and not having these politicians just printing out money and holding them accountable at the highest level.
And it's a really interesting way to think about it, because we needed around 15 years to get to 100K Bitcoin price the first time we cracked it. And I don't think we will need another 15 years to get to the 200K. I think we probably need, so 2094 we cracked it. So it's like, did we crack it 2094, the 100K? Or was it 2024?
I think it was
2024,
2025. I think.
I will look it up.
But
That's
I think
embarrassing for me.
I think your editor will find that though.
I'm my editor.
But yeah, I think it was after Trump. Because I remember we got into the 90s in it was 2025 March, I believe. Maybe something like that.
No, it was December 2024 already. So like around that era, but like
December 6th. Was it December 6th? I think that's what it was. Maybe. You're muted, brother.
Oh, Google is not that good with the showing the exact when we hit it. According to Google, we hit it at the 14th of December the first time, but it is possible that, because Google, I think, shows always the closing price and not the highest of the day. It shows always the closing price. So probably hit it before that already. But anyways, so December 2024, we hit it. So that's a year and like 4 or 5 months ago, like 1 year and 5 months ago. I think we don't need longer than in total than 3 years. So like in another 1.5 years, maximum 2 years, I think we reached the 200K for the first time ever. I personally think we reach it this year. But yeah, I don't think we'll reach it. We don't need a lot more than like 3-4 years in total from the first time cracking it. And that's like 15 years, 4 years. The next 100K will be probably like under 1 year. And then the same with the million. We probably need 20. I think we reached 1 million at like around 2032-ish. How many years is that from 2008? I'm so bad in math.
23. Because 2029 would be 20 years. 2032 would be 3 more.
So if you do 23 years, I think we probably reached the second million in like less than 5 years more than that. Maybe even like lower than that. It's crazy when you get in that kind of a math, and then you're like, oh, I can buy it now for 70K, 80K, 60K. It feels illegal. It feels like you're robbing money. You're stealing money from someone if you're buying Bitcoin right now.
So I say, I say that all the time. Every time I get a buy-in, I have to look around and see if the police are going to come get me. Am I going to get arrested for this? Because I'm stealing right now. Again, you're getting, as of this recording, you're getting 1,200 and something units of the hardest money in the world for one piece of trash of $1 in the United States, and it's illegal. And again, when we hit a million, remind you again, you're only going to get only. It's still a good deal. 100 units for $1. That's still a good deal. Remember, go back to that Coinbase video. Look at that. Look at how many dollars there are out there in comparing to the units. So, and I agree. That's why I said when we hit a million, Robin, when we hit a million at between 2029 or 2032 or whatever, I think we'll hit 10 million way quicker than we did 1 million. So again, get them while you can.
100%. It's very, very true. One aspect that I completely forgot about that I wanted to mention beforehand, I think you distracted me with the Tesla question, was the point about friction, because you reminded me now that it's so easy to buy Bitcoin. You can buy Bitcoin on Lightning. You can buy it so easily. You can buy it even for like €1-2 on Cash App and like super easy apps to use for Bitcoin. You can earn it even. You don't even have to buy it. Like, you can literally work for Bitcoin these days. I mean, a couple of years ago, there was this like Bitcoin faucet where you can get free Bitcoins if you just fill out an email or something like that. So this is the least amount of friction you can get into buying an asset. Think about the friction if you want to buy real estate property. Think about the friction if you want to buy even a stock. You have to build an account. You cannot buy on Sundays. You cannot buy after 3 p.m. Like all of those weird rules. Bitcoin is just like you can get it anytime, anywhere, in a not a split second. You probably need some time for it, but basically, if you are on Lightning, it's a split second. So it's no friction at all, and all other assets have a lot of friction.
Exactly. And this is why I tell people, man, I speak to gold and silver guys quite often. And every once a month or two, I'll go into my old coin shop because I used to make videos about that. And I used to go in there and I would go in there and talk to them and I'd talk to the customers. And again, I'm not trying to take their business from them or anything because my old coin dealer has Bitcoin. He has Ethereum as well. I tell him, I don't know about that. But yeah, you have to physically get up and do these things. Now, somebody might say, oh, well, what about a stock and this, that, and the third? Well, that stock is not really yours, right? This is why Satoshi wrote in the white paper. And again, what is this worth to you? What's the value of this to have a peer to peer money? This is a peer to peer money. It's money that's everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And it's so frictionless. And like you said, you took the words right out of my mouth. We talked about the Bitcoin faucet. On my show, I have links in my bio on my description box that does give you free satoshis. That's how frictionless it is. You can scan receipts, or you can walk and get free satoshis, or you can use a debit card and get free satoshis. It's frictionless. You can't do that with other things. They're not going to give you free gold and silver or free freaking stocks or anything else in these other assets. You know what I mean? So the frictionless part of it is another premium. It is, to me, it is just the absolute easiest, best money in the world once you understand it. And the position you're in today is nobody understands it, and you're way ahead of the game. So what I tell people is simple. What the frictionless stuff is simple. Get yourself a wallet, right? Whatever it is, wallet, Satoshi, whatever, and then download it for your family and your friend or whatever, and show them how it works. And get with them, sit down with them, knee to knee, sit or stand with them and show them how easy it is on the Lightning Network. Now, they might say, oh, well, I can do this on Venmo. I can do this on Cash App. I can do this on PayPal. But before you send it off to them, say, listen, this is the difference. When I'm getting ready to send you this money, this is money from me to you. There's nobody in between. When you look at PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, and the rest of them, they have them in between. Every once in a while, like if I'm sending something on Cash App or something like that, they'll say, "Oh, you went over your limit today," or "Oh, you can't do it this because of this amount," or "Oh, we're looking at some. We have to make sure that your account is okay," or whatever. That happens at banks. That happens at these apps all the time. That would never happen with Bitcoin. Every single country in the world has their own currency. They have the United States has the US dollar, this country has that money, your country has your money. This is the first money ever, even though you can transfer our money, our fiat currency over the internet. This money is for the internet. This money is of the people, for the people, and by the people. And it's the most frictionless money in the world. It's the best money in the world. And I tell people all the time, if you want to show people how this works, just show it to them and let them know it's the best, hands down.
And there's one argument always coming up at that point of like, oh, but isn't cash the same thing? And I disagree because of two things. The first thing is it's not global. So I can send peer to peer to you right now money, like Bitcoin, and you get it directly from me. There's nobody in between. And you in Las Vegas, I'm in Austria. I will make the trip very soon, Austria, Las Vegas. I know how long it takes for me to physically actually get there. In cash, I cannot do this. I can put cash in a letter. It probably will get there to you in like a week, something like that. I can get in the plane and get it to you in like a day or two. But I cannot do that with anything else than Bitcoin. So that's the only thing that is peer-to-peer, truly decentralized. Don't get me started on all the shit coins. No, it's not decentralized. No, it's not peer-to-peer because there's someone in between. It's only Bitcoin. And the second aspect of it, if you compare cash, there's someone, even if like next week we will stand next to each other, I can give him cash. But even there in that transaction is someone in between. It's the guy that prints that thing because he has the power to make it worthless. And if there's someone in between that can make it worthless while we're exchanging it, it's not peer-to-peer. So physical cash has not earned the right to call itself peer-to-peer because it's not peer-to-peer on a global in a global space, and there's someone in between stealing the value in real time away from it. Even in that 1 minute that I give it to you, theoretically, the purchasing power has gone down. And so it's not peer to peer. Sorry for that rant, but I got that argument sometimes, and I'm like, it's not true.
That is a great point, man. I never even, we know about inflation and all that, but to say that with the peer to peer thing, I have never heard that before. That was great, bro. I like that. I'm gonna steal that from you. But that was great. But yeah, another one too is real estate. I think real estate is going to be a catalyst to the frictionless thing because a lot of these real estate investors, of course they're doing it to make money and invest and stuff like that. But they want to store their value or store their energy into something, right? And again, like you said, it's frictionless with Bitcoin. It's decentralized. With real estate, it's only regional. It's only that one place. You can't send it overseas. I can sell you my house, Robin, but you have to come here to live here. You can invest in it from over there, but in order for you to see it and really understand it, you're gonna have to come over here to touch it and feel it or whatever. You can send somebody else to look at it. But I think that's gonna be a catalyst, man. A lot of these real estate investors, a lot of them are waking up. I know you interview a lot of these people to say, hey man, this is the new digital, like Michael Saylor says, the digital Manhattan. You got your land, you got your physical real estate and all this other stuff, but you got the digital one. And you can send it literally on lightning at the snap of a finger, frictionless, straight through, no middleman. And like you said, with the great analogy with the dollar, even with real estate, if I wanted to sell my real estate, I don't want to talk to you guys like you're dumb. You guys know this, that it takes forever to sell a piece of real estate. It just does. And Eric Trump says this as well. He always talks about this because he's into real estate. I think he's one of the biggest freaking advocates for Bitcoin ever because he's a very, very rich man. Obviously, he doesn't need Bitcoin, but nobody's more known for real estate than the Trump family. And even they say that Bitcoin is way better. So again, the future is on its way. Get with the best and most frictionless money in the world, and that's Bitcoin.
Yeah, the Trump family. Another famous example is Grant Cardone. He was on my podcast. He has a $5 billion US real estate portfolio. Like that's not he's not a real estate guy because he's like famous or like he has some podcasts or like he has a small portfolio. $5 billion real estate portfolio. That's a huge chunk. And he's now building Bitcoin in all of his new deals in. And I personally think he will get into more and more Bitcoin down the line, because I think he's in like, even though he's technically into Bitcoin since 2013, because for some gig he got some Bitcoin, he wasn't a Bitcoiner back then, but he's now getting slowly to be an actual Bitcoiner. And the same
Did his brother orange pill him?
I
Gary?
mean, I think Gary played a very important role. I like Grant had Bitcoin since 2013 because he was telling that story in the podcast where he had a speaking gig, and the guy that wanted him only wanted to pay him in Bitcoin and not anything else. And Grant was like, "Ah, okay, I take the Bitcoin. It's okay. It's money somehow." Yeah, he got the Bitcoin and he just kept it, and it was like a lot of Bitcoin. Like he said, it was his best speaking gig he ever got because he kept the Bitcoin. It was like 1,000 Bitcoin or something like that, like 3,000 Bitcoin he got for a speaking gig in 2013 because he just kept it in Bitcoin. He didn't sell it, and so that's how he kind of got into the Bitcoin ecosystem. But about like the public learning and like how he slowly gets away from real estate, is now more comfortable speaking about Bitcoin on podcasts. He was recently, this real estate guy, Grant Cardone, was recently on the iced coffee hour, something like that, with like Graham Stephan and the other guy that have that podcast. And they were asking him about Bitcoin, and he was talking about Bitcoin and defending Bitcoin. Now, a real estate guy on a non-Bitcoin podcast talks about Bitcoin. That's the capital shift that I'm talking about. Like, all other asset classes will get the attention stolen away from them towards Bitcoin. And that's what's happening with Cardone, with the Trump family, with so many amazing people. And they slowly get it, and the world is awakening. So the gold rush can start.
Absolutely. I love that, man. I love seeing big boys like that are in a different industry, because again, you have a Bitcoin show, I have a Bitcoin show, we're Bitcoiners, right? So when you come to our show, you know we're going to talk about Bitcoin. But I like to see the big boys, the Trumps, the Grant Cardones, the whoever, go on a separate podcast that has nothing to do with Bitcoin. I think I've seen Grant Cardone on the Vlad TV show talking about Bitcoin. That's how we get adoption, right? We get adoption by, not orange pilling the big boys, but having the big boys see it, because these are not dumb people here. Okay. Eric Trump is not a dumb person. So when you expose the quote unquote masses that are coming to watch their favorite whoever on these shows, it's just like, wow, man. And again, this is not a Bitcoin show. Graham Stephan, he lives, I've seen him a couple of times here in Vegas. He's moved to Vegas. He's recently sold all of his real estate portfolio in LA. He says this is crazy. He made a tweet out a week ago or something like that, and he said that this is the regulations, the red tape, and all the stuff that I'm going through. It's just not worth it to have to pay all this stuff, and the percentage he's making off it, I believe, is 5% he was making. He says I get a better return on my stock portfolio. So when you see these people having guys like Grant Cardone, he had Eric Trump, Stephen Graham had Eric Trump on the show talking about Bitcoin. He has some Bitcoin. Eventually, once and it's crazy when I see people get into something else. Like I got a guy I watch all the time. His name is Greg Foreman. He has a show called Black Conservative Perspective. He's a political guy. He's starting to get into Bitcoin now. And I've talked to him on Twitter and stuff like that. And now he's wearing shirts like me on his show. He's wearing a Bitcoin shirt on his show. Look him up. Black Conservative Perspective, Greg Foreman. And at the end, he's not fully going full Bitcoin, but he understands the monetary policy or the monetary system. And every once in a while, he says, hey, look, I'm not telling anybody what to do, but you might want to think about buying some Bitcoin. And you can slowly see the progression of these people, whether it's a Graham Stephan, a Grant Cardone, whoever, that once you get into Bitcoin, it literally takes over you, because you're like, holy crap, that system that I made all this money off of, it's broken. It's not right. Even though I'm a very rich person, I'm still getting into Bitcoin. Not only am I getting into it, but I'm trying to wake other people up to it. So that's what we got to do all together, guys, to be on the Bitcoin team, is to make sure everybody understands it, because it's all about adoption. Price is part of that. But again, don't keep your mouth closed. Tell everybody you can. Watch the Bitcoin stuff, support it, and watch it grow, guys. Watch it grow.
It's a financial virus. It spreads if you want it or not. I just found that like it's actually interesting. Because Graham Stephan, I watched in the beginning of my going down the financial rabbit hole time when I was like 17, 18, 19, when I started like my stock portfolio and all of that. I actually wanted to get into real estate in the beginning. I actually had even some kind of talks with banks. I had books about real estate. I had all those things kind of slowly getting laid out in front of me and saying like, hey, how can I do that? What can I do? And thankfully, I got into Bitcoin. Thankfully, Bitcoin kind of saved me from that. But if Bitcoin would have not shown up in my life for another like 1 year, maybe 2 years, I probably would have had real estate, and it would be such a headache. And yeah, as you said, it's not easy to have real estate. And I think Graham Stephan says it here. It's a long post, but it's basically here where he says, "Yeah, I've sold it all. It does not make sense anymore." Just like getting the real estate and doing that. Here's I think this Substack, if you want to read the whole thing. But yeah, it got also quite viral, like 3.6 million views on a post that describes how real estate does no longer make sense. It's big numbers for the financial industry.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, man, I think that would be a great guest for your show, having Graham Stephan on your show, because you got Grant Cardone already, and you get him on there. You get people like that on your show. I think that would be great. And again, real estate is a hard thing to do, and he sold it all, and he's ripe for the picking to be a Bitcoiner.
I'll put him on my list. I hope I get to him. He obviously
Listen,
he's
you got Grant Cardone. You got Grant Cardone, bro. You can get him.
yeah, it's actually fascinates me, like because I always like, how can I get to those people? And then people tell me like, you got Saylor, you got Grant Cardone, like what are you talking about? Like you can get them. I'm like, I don't know how I got them. Like it was so random. Like Grant Cardone, for example, I the whole story was like I saw Gary's post one day on Twitter, and I was like, "Hey, I would love to have you on my podcast." And then I developed slowly that relationship with Gary. Then I met Gary last year in Vegas, and we did a podcast live together there at the Rumble Studio.
That's funny. That's the first time I seen you in person. I walked by and I seen you doing that. That's the first time I seen you in person, and I was like, I didn't want to. Obviously, you're doing your interview, but
Yeah, and this was it was really cool. And then while I was walking with Gary, I saw Grant and Gary saw Grant, and Gary just went up like, "Hey, bro, like what's going on?" And he was messing with him. Like they have I think they have a lovely relationship. Just like that one interaction with them, I was like, they're great brothers together. They really like each other. I personally think so. And then we went on, and Gary said like, "By the way, if you ever want to have Grant on, I'll hook you up." And I was like, okay. I was writing an email, and Gary actually came through. He said to Grant, like, hey, Grant, Robin is an amazing guy. Like, you should definitely have him on. So that's what I'm saying. Like I had Grant on, but like it was such a random story because I like was with Gary, and Gary just saw randomly Grant, and like I'm not planning. The whole podcast is not planned. It's so funny. It just like comes, and I'm trying like, oh, who do I have next on? Like, oh, I want Cherry back on. I want him back on. Oh, wait, how do I want him on? Like, how do I get to him? I don't know. Let's just wait. I might get to him at some point.
absolutely, that's a great story, man. That's funny because I seen Grant Cardone too walk by, and I was like, wow, that's Grant Cardone. But you're doing great things, man. I mean, I know you started off saying, "Hey, I want to interview Bitcoiners and stuff like that," and you've been doing a great job with that. But Grant Cardone obviously is more than a Bitcoiner. But this is how we get to be to the mainstream, right? You got to network with people. You got to talk to people. I was talking to Robin offline. I told him, hey, we can hang out and do some stuff because I live in Las Vegas. So by the time you see this video, Robin we're gonna do some stuff, right? And that's how you do it. Robin networked. You got to network with these people. Don't ever be afraid to go out and talk to these quote unquote famous people and stuff like that or whatever, because these people, again, they don't and again, because I live in Las Vegas, so I see these kind of individuals a lot. They don't want to be treated like celebrities, right? They don't like to be treated like celebrities. Regular people like to be treated like celebrities, right? So just get in contact with them. Say, hey, all they can tell you is no. I guarantee you, now that we plan to seed in Robin's head, he can just say, oh, well, who can I talk to that's connected to Grant? Connected to Graham. Oh, I could talk to Gary, or I could talk to, Grant Cardone. They can hook me up. And you think um Graham is going to say no to Grant or Gary? Probably not. He'll have them on there. But this is how we go. We go mainstream. We get the big mainstream guys in here and show them like, hey, you got this real estate portfolio you're selling. You got a lot of cash sitting around. Maybe you should put it in Bitcoin.
Obviously, I would love to do that. I will work on that. But I actually, I'm extremely introverted, and it might not look like that, but I really like that people know me from the podcast, because this makes it possible for me to just walk around and people like, oh, that's Robin. Hi, Robin. And then I don't have to do it. I love talking with people. I just hate doing the first step. Like I'm like
Yeah.
I'm so introverted. I'm like I'm a horrible salesperson
Well,
in that regard.
you've done so many interviews and you've talked to pretty much everybody. So when you're in the Bitcoin area space, you're like you are like a celebrity in our realm. I mean, you are,
Couple of
man.
times.
When you come to the conference, I remember I was standing next to you, and all these people were coming up to you. I said, "Wow," and it's going to be like that for all of us in the future, as Bitcoiners, because they're going to be like, "Oh my God, you bought Bitcoin under $1 million." They're not going to believe it. So again, get as many as you can.
Don't worry, guys. You all get you all get girlfriends.
Yes, absolutely.
We have been. Completely overlooked the time. It's already way too long. I hope I don't keep you from anything important.
We
Too
always do
long.
this, and we talk for 20, 30 minutes before the show starts. It's crazy.
Obviously, there's so many more things to talk about. At some point, we have to find an end. All good things have to end at some point. We have an end routine, as you know, from the previous guests, from the previous episodes, where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. And he asks a simple question of, what's more important to you than Bitcoin?
God, my family, and my country.
Oh yeah, you answered that already in the beginning. I mean, I didn't ask it, but like you answered it with like in that sequence, you said like God, your family, and your country already in the beginning. Love it.
Yes, that's an easy one for me.
That was an easy one. Was already answered in the first 5 minutes. Now, really cool for being on the show, Jerry. And before I let you go, where can people find you, your show, and all the things that you're doing?
Yes. Well, I want to just say thank you, Robin, for having me again. 4th time's a charm. I appreciate it, bro. Anytime you call me, you know I'm coming. Just type in Jerry Loves Freedom. I'm on mainly YouTube. I'm on Rumble, Noster, Twitter. I also have another podcast again with two of my really good friends, the Bitcoin Technician and BTC Backpacker. Our show is called the Truth of Work Podcast. Truth of Work Podcast. Also, I do a live stream. Try to do a live stream every Monday through Friday on my Jerry Loves Freedom show. The Truth of Work Podcast. We do a live stream every Sunday when we can. And I have a group called the Bitcoiners for Freedom. Bitcoiners for Freedom, and you can join that just by going to my live streams on YouTube. And I do a kind of like a entertainment education kind of show. I try to make you laugh, and we have a good time, and we spin the wheel of Satoshi, I call it, and I give out Satoshis Monday through Friday. And then every Saturday I do I have a series called Satoshi Saturday, and I believe I'm the only one that does them every Saturday. And main thing is YouTube, and you can find me on there. And again, I appreciate you, Robin. Thank you so much, bro.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jerry, for being on the podcast. And as always, thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.